The question of the night is, what's stressing my body? Okay. And for me, I find the Zyto Insights is a great way to figure that out because truthfully, a lot of the times I don't know what's stressing my body out, right? And then I'll do this and I'll be like, oh, that makes so much sense. Or isn't that interesting? Or, you know, so we're going to look at that tonight. So I just want to go ahead and welcome you to this masterclass. Here in November, I'm doing master classes that I'm opening up to everybody. Typically Monday mornings and Thursday nights is when I have master classes for my membership, my group of ladies. Several of them are on here right now. And so for November, I've opened these up because I'm talking about the Zyto Scan because people always have questions. And I was like, hey, let's dive in a little bit deeper and figure out what's going on. So today, what you're going to learn is which of your body systems are most stressed, because we have lots of different body systems. We're going to talk about what are your top stressors, okay? And then which stressors to start with, because sometimes we see this long list of stressors and we're like, well, everything's stressing me out, right? Where do I start? Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight, all right? So is there anybody here that is curious on what's stressing their body out? Donna's like, me, I'm curious, right? Here's the thing. We often look at all the external things going on in our world, our family, work, relationships, technology, all those stressors, and they do play a part in our stress. But y'all, there is so many internal things going on too that could be affecting how you are relating to your external world. And so we're going to be looking at that. This is kind of where I was 10 years ago. I had no idea all the things that was putting extra stress on my body. And after working with hundreds of clients, mostly women, I have learned a lot about what is stressing our bodies out. And I actually started doing Zyto scans in 2012. Okay, I got my first, at the time, you put your hand on this little cradle, and it was the Zyto Compass. A few years later, I paid a monthly fee for a higher one that really worked on nutrition. And then I did the Zyto Balance, which gave me even more information. And then when they came out with the Zyto Insights, right about the time of people no longer coming to my house because of COVID, and I wasn't going into people's houses taking my Zyto Scan, this became perfect. And I have fallen in love with this technology because it has helped me have more information. And more information helps me to make better decisions, okay? And you're going to get to see that tonight because I'm using myself as the guinea pig or the example, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, if you haven't done your scan, no worries. You're going to learn from today's masterclass, and then you can do your Zyto Insight Scan. You can use the printable report I have for you to help you decipher what's going on. If you've never had a one-on-one with me with your first Zyto Scan, that is something I do with people the very first time. After that, it is a fee because it does take up my time, which is why I'm teaching this free masterclass so that you can do it yourself if you don't want to have a one-on-one with me. All right. So here is the next question. Why? Why do we need to know what is stressing us out? Well, every stressor puts stress on your body. And the more stressors, the more stressed you're going to be. Now, I know, again, that we often think of stress as mental and emotional, but y'all, there is also physical stress. And if you have physical stress, it's because your body is stressed. There are stressors being put onto your body, stressing it out. And if you know me very well, I always say awareness is the first step in becoming aware of what's actually stressing your body out is going to give you insight. That's why I love the name of this. Okay. Insight to make better choices. And I know most of us have heard we need to lower our stress. I used to tell people that all the time. but we don't always know how. How do I lower my stress, right? And knowing what is stressing us out can help us with the how. And we're going to go over that tonight. All right. Now, I want to remind you that stress is the natural response to stressors, meaning we cannot get rid of stress and keep the stressors. Okay. So as long as there's stressors out there, our body is going to be stressed. Does that make sense? Now, I said on Monday's call, just like a tree can only handle so many storms before it starts breaking, hurricanes, tornadoes, and all that, too many stressors on our body is like a hurricane or a tornado moving through. And some of us feel that way, right? Like some mornings you wake up and you're like, what bus ran over me today? That bus is a bus full of stressors that your body could not handle and you are feeling it. All right. Now, again, in my last masterclass, I asked the question, how adaptable are you? And if you missed that class, that's okay. But I went over the first part of the Zyto Scan and the first page of the report. And there is a replay, so you can go back to that. It's on my YouTube channel, which is Shauna Kale. Or you can message me and I'll send you the link, or you'll be getting an email that'll have that information. But what we're going to focus on is this number one. It says number one, stressors: positive, eustress, dangerous, toxic, internal, external. That's what we're looking at today. Okay. Now here is a sample of the report you can print off. This is just for my clients. All right. So you have to have signed up for a Zyto Scan before I'm going to give you a link to this. But I went over page 1 on Monday, and that's on the replay. Today, we're focusing on page 2, this page right here, okay? And the first question that we're going to answer is, which of your body systems are most stressed? All right. Now, I want to remind you that when you did your scan, it was taking a snapshot of that moment in time. And I want you to realize we are constantly changing. This is not a diagnostic. If your number one is cardiovascular system, it's not time to go, oh my goodness, what's wrong with my heart? It means your heart needs some support. It doesn't mean that there is a problem with it. Now, can you have a problem with your heart? Yes, but that's not what this is telling us. This is telling us that your cardiovascular system needs more support. All right. I want y'all to remember that. We are looking at how we can best support our bodies. All right. Now, the time of the day is also going to affect what parts of your body are going to need more support. If you've been on your feet all day, chances are musculoskeletal system may come up that it needs more support, right? What you've done, what you've eaten can affect us, right? We have a gut. This gut's going to come up. If you haven't eaten, it can affect us. But here's the thing, we get a lot of insight because at that moment in time, probably happens daily, right? Like there's going to be times that you're going to be tired. There's going to be times that you're going to have more energy. There's going to be times you've eaten and times you haven't. So this is just taking a picture of that moment in time. Now, what I'm using is a sample of my scan from November 1st. I usually do it at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month. I happen to wake up November 1st that morning not feeling so well. All right. And so I scan myself because that's what I do. Now, when you look at the last video, you're going to learn about what's called the adaptability report. But today we're going to do the systems report, and how we see the second page of this report is you have to actually click systems report. All right. So when you click that, what you're going to see is a report like this on the left. So that's what Zyto is going to give you. And then I have made up what I feel is easier for me to keep track of things on the right. And I do this for my clients, and I give this to you for you to do for yourself. All right. Now, if you look at the picture on the left, you can see that I already worked on it. I made some marks on it. There's some numbers that have changed. Again, we're not going to go over all of that. I just want you to know that I have done some stuff. So when I pull up the next page, okay, this is the next page, this is the systems report. And the first part we're going to focus on is called the foundational systems. So what you're going to see at the top is it says foundational systems, and then it breaks it down into the cardiovascular system, which is your heart, the detoxification system, the endocrine system. You can see all of those. Okay. What I want you to notice is the yellow. All right. See how this is yellow? The yellow is showing how much energy that system had at the moment of your scan. All right. The more yellow, the more that system can handle at that moment. The less yellow, the less it can handle, which is why we want to support it, right? So, and I'm going to tell you more about the blue closer to the end. I just want you to focus on the yellow right now. Now, I want you to notice that my respiratory system was at the lowest. That's the least amount of yellow. So I'm going to give that a 1. The lowest is going to get the lowest number, which is 1. And then the second lowest is my detoxification system. So I'm going to give it a 2. And my musculoskeletal system was the third lowest. So I'm going to give it a 3. You would do the same thing if you were looking at your scan. You're going to look at these yellows and you're going to find which one has the least amount of energy. That cup is the least full, and you're going to write that down. All right. And then I put it down on my paper and it looks like this. Okay, so I took all those and I made numbers. Respiratories 1, detoxifications 2, musculoskeletals 3, endocrines 4, cardiovascular 5, gastrointestinal 6, immune system 7. Does anyone have any questions on how I got the numbers to put into my report? And I can't see everybody at one time when I'm sharing my screen, so feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. Okay, so everybody knows how I got those numbers. All right, now I did the same thing for my lifestyle area. That's the second part. See, it has yellow. I'm going to look, the least amount of yellow is in environmental toxins, okay? Which really means that my body needs more support to get rid of environmental toxins. Environmental toxins were stressing my body that morning when I took the scan. Second was sleep, and I shared that I woke up with a headache and I had not slept good that night, okay? And third was diet and nutrition, and I shared on Monday that this was the day after Halloween. I had gone over to my neighbor's house, and it was one of the guys' birthdays, and I didn't have any Halloween candy, but I did have a birthday cupcake, okay? And so, which is not my norm, and we're going to see this pop up on my scan, which is pretty fun and interesting. But I write all this down in my report. This is all information. Information helps us to figure things out. Now, now that I know like which areas are most stressed, I can answer this next question. All right. And this question are, what are my top stressors? So first, I just want to find what systems are the most stressed. And then I want to figure out what are my top stressors. And the way that we do this is I write them down on a piece of paper, in this case, on this report. Okay, and I'm going to show you how you find that information out, because this is always interesting to people. See this little triangle right here? That is a way to, you click it and it's going to drop down and it's going to give you this amazing information. Okay. We're not going to look at products right now because we're going to go to system stressors, because that's the question. What is stressing out that system? So when you click this, it brings down your top 5, and you can click show more to see more, but y'all, I'm going to tell you, having just 5 can be a little overwhelming. If you looked at 20 or 30 or 40, they're just listed in order. We just want to know the top 5. Okay. And what we see right here for my respiratory system, if you were to do this on yours, you're going to see your own respiratory system, right? It's going to show you what is stressing your respiratory system, which is probably going to be totally different than mine. All right. The first thing I see is food sensitivity. The second thing I see is grief, environmental factors, viruses, and bronchi. All right. Now, I'm going to write all those down. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. I wrote down food sensitivity. I wrote down grief. Those are my top 5. All right. Then I looked at my detoxification system. I clicked the button. It brought it down. I have pictures here for y'all. And I wrote those 5 down. Now you can see I put lymph nodes, annoyed, and then food sensitivity came up again. So what I like to do is I like to mark it with just another line, because I want to see what is stressing out my body the most. What's my top stressors, right? And then I have the colon descending here, and I have environmental factors again. So I put another line. And then musculoskeletal system comes up. What's the number 1? Food sensitivity. I mark it. What's the next one? Environmental factors. So we see environmental factors all 3 times, and I actually did not even get that marked on there. And we see the joints and pituitary gland. All right. So just from my 3 systems that are the most stressed, I can find what is stressing them out the most. And interestingly enough, food sensitivity comes up number 1, right? And if you know me very well, I've talked about that sugar and white flour, and put the 2 together, affects my body. It stresses it out. Interesting enough, in my book, I talk about a little mini cupcake that I ate the week that I started working on getting rid of sugar. And it was the girl that gave me that cupcake's dad's birthday on October 31st. Just an interesting little note there. So I guess they love cupcakes in that family. And obviously the cupcakes do not do well with my body. Okay. But how often do we eat something we have no idea how it's affecting us? Like food sensitivity comes up and we're like, oh, well, I don't even know. I just ate what I always eat. Okay. That can be something we can discuss on Monday in the Q&A, because the Zyto actually has a way that we can look at food and how it may affect us. Okay. I'm not going into that today. I'm just sharing the top ones. I'm just letting you know, I personally, after 10 years of this, know what things I'm sensitive on, and white flour and white sugar are 2 big ones for me. Okay. And then grief comes up. I'm just going to say grief comes up a lot for me, but also know that grief is what we hold in our respiratory system. Okay. So in our lungs. So it doesn't surprise me that it came up for my respiratory system. Now, environmental factors came up, and we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. And we see viruses, and I mean, you can see my list, right? So we're going to move on now to lifestyle areas to see what's stressing out my lifestyle areas. And what I looked at here, again, is just my top 3 areas, which was environmental toxins, which was diet, nutrition, and sleep. Okay. And so I have all of those over here listed. And then what I do is I just start writing them down, or in this case, typing them in here to see what comes up. All right. And the number 1 for my lifestyle areas was herbicides. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Because environmental toxins was also affected, right? And so I can see in here now what some of those environmental factors and toxins are that was getting me. And then after that is unresolved issues. I have 2 marks on that. Unresolved issues, y'all, if you have been following me very long, that's trauma. That's trauma in the body, right? And so if we have not moved that trauma out, then it's still stuck there and it's unresolved. All right. And so that's listed. You can see magnesium is on there twice. All right. And so I could check to see if magnesium and unresolved issues was affecting any other systems. And guess what? It was. Okay. So I don't necessarily need to write everything down, but I may want to check to see, okay, these things that I'm seeing the most of, food sensitivity, y'all, every single place that it could be showed up, not just my top 3 areas, but it's affecting my whole body. For me, that's good information to know, because if I'm going to make a choice, I'm more likely to make a choice if I'm like, oh, you know what? That cupcake not only affected my respiratory system, it affected my musculoskeletal system. It affected my detoxification. It affected everything, right? Okay. So I have these listed here, and then I'm able to answer that next question, which leads us to, which stressors do I start with? Okay, there was quite a few stressors there. What one do I start with? Well, I just wrote them down, those ones that had the extra marks on. And so I got it down to 5. 5's a lot more doable than like a list of 23 or something, right? So now I'm looking at these 5. And again, for me, food sensitivity was the number 1. So this is when I ask myself, how can I best support my body if food sensitivity is a stressor? Now, I could ask, why is food sensitivity a stressor? But that's just going to stress me out, because there's a lot of food that I eat, right? So I'm going to ask the question, how? How can I best support my body if food sensitivity is a stressor? Well, y'all, I already told you, I personally know that I'm sensitive to sugar and flour, especially the 2 together inside of a cupcake, right? So because I've done this scan and I'm aware of it, and I'm already, when I scanned myself, I wasn't feeling well, right? I can now make a choice. What am I going to do now to stay away from cupcakes? Okay. But the Zyto Scan, again, also has a food scan. And again, we'll talk more about that on Monday if you're interested in having that done. But for me, I already knew. I knew by this food sensitivity, the first thing I can do to help support my body is stay away from the flour and the sugar. Okay. The next thing that came up here is environmental factors. And when I looked specifically, the top one was herbicides. Now, herbicides is what kills weeds. And y'all, I do like to walk around barefoot. Okay. And so this is a reminder that I need to be careful where I'm walking barefooted, because our feet soak up the herbicides. And funny enough, that night, the night before, I walked over to my neighbors through their grass, and we were all sitting outside on the driveway in the grass, in lawn chairs. Kids were coming through for trick-or-treating, and they were celebrating George's birthday. All right. And I had no shoes on. Isn't that interesting that herbicide shows up my number 1? Okay. I see Donna shaking her head, and we just had a conversation about how toxins could affect us, right? And how quickly I woke up the next morning not feeling well. By scanning myself, to be honest, y'all, when I woke up that morning, I would not have been thinking about the cupcake or thinking about walking in the grass. But when this popped up, those things started coming. I was aware. So often the past is in the past, which is a great place for it to be unless it's affecting us today. And then maybe we need to look at it, right? So now I know how I can support my body. Like, I need to be careful of where I'm walking. Now, the next one is viruses. And we all know there's all kinds of viruses going around, right? So again, I can ask myself, how can I best support myself from viruses that are stressing my body? And for me, I typically go to my oils and supplements, right? That's a way that I can support myself. And in the last video, I talked about the best top products and services and how to figure that out. But I'm going to come here for just a moment and show you what I found out. So we're just going to do a little review that I share on Monday. I share how I found this. But the first thing that came up for me on a service was a sea salt enema, which I know helps cleanse the body so that it may support me from viruses. It might help with the herbicides, like all those things that my body needs to be cleansed from. I see chakra balancing, which increases your energetic flow, which is always good to help the body to be more adaptable, especially against invaders like viruses. And then the third thing was the lymphatic system, which helps fight against viruses, right? So I can see again where this would be beneficial because of what stressors came up for me. Who is like, they see a service and like, oh, well, that would probably be good, but do I really need it? And then you look at this and you're like, I don't want COVID. I don't want the flu. I'm willing to go do a couple of these services so that I feel better. Does that make sense how this can help us? So I looked at those, and then I looked at my products, and I'd already made this product list on the first one. I know that's probably small for y'all, but this is what I have written down for me. So when I sell those stressors, I'm like, okay, well, what did I already have that's going to help support my body? And the first thing that came up was Dorado Azul. So I got out my handy dandy resource book, and I'm looking, what does Dorado Azul do? All right. And what I found is that Dorado Azul, okay, is a respiratory stimulant. It's good for colds. If you didn't know, colds is a type of virus, coughs, flu, another virus, bronchitis, and asthma. Sounds like the perfect way for me to support my body from stressors like the virus, right? So now, guess what? I want to use my Dorado Azul. And I know why I'm using, and I'm going to put it on the bottom of my feet because that's what I was walking in, and it goes in through my whole body. And y'all, here's the thing, when people are like, well, can the oils really make that big of a difference? If herbicides can show up the day after I walk through the grass and has gotten into my system, do you think that if I put oils on the bottom of my feet that they're going to go into my body the same way? All right. Now, the next one that came up was Remagen, and it is right here. And when I looked it up, it says it helps with supporting digestion and bowel function. Y'all, do you know the best way to stay well is making sure that anything that is in your body that you don't want it to be in your body is able to get out of your body and into the toilet. All right. And then the next was unresolved issues, y'all, right here. Unresolved issues had come up. Again, trauma. And we're not going to get into this today, but I'm going to tell you that it has come up for the past 10 years on my scans, all right, that it is a stressor. And it's why I'm so passionate on helping women, just like me, just like you, live a life of less stress. And that's why I teach classes and courses on this very subject, right? So I personally spent this year for my own health learning and journey, learning more breathing techniques to release unresolved issues, and began taking some trauma classes and courses that I'm now teaching in my 21-day journey, Trauma to Safety. So when this popped up, I knew I needed to do more work, right? Like, I'm still on the same journey. I have not released all of the trauma. And here's the thing. Look what came up on my scan that I had for number 3 that brought me to 100. Joy. I just got my chill bumps right here, right? So joy came up, and I know that joy is good for emotional release. And so I know it's another reminder that I need to use my joy to help with those unresolved issues, right? See how quickly we already went through 4 things. I just need to stay away from the cupcakes, right? I just need to keep my shoes on when I'm walking outside. Those are simple. I need to use my oils and my products to help support my body from viruses. I've got my joy oil and my tools in my 21-day safety to trauma to safety. And now we're already on number 5, magnesium. And if you know me very well, you've heard me say magnesium 150,000 times. Right? I was a minute late getting on here because my daughter walked in going, do you have any Epsom salt hidden anywhere? No, I don't have any. See if your brother can take you to get some. Okay. Here's the thing. When we are stressed, our body is using up a lot of magnesium. And there are simple ways that we can help our body have more magnesium in it. And an Epsom salt bath is the easiest way for my family. And it's the way we use. My daughter's not feeling well today. She needs her Epsom salt. I did not realize it was gone. Probably used the last of it. There's magnesium oils. There's magnesium lotions. So those are good if you can't take a bath that you can put on your body. There's internal magnesium. There's things like Natural Calm and Mag Soothe. Okay. So the morning of November 1st, guess what I did when I saw this? I supported my body with magnesium. Okay. Now, again, what I love about this scan is there's so much insight that I can gain from it. So, we looked at the systems, and I told you that the yellow shows what areas need the most support. And I told you I'd come back to what the blue means. So that's where we're at. Okay. The blue shows the areas that are supported by the 3 products I already marked on my scan. In this case, my cardiovascular system is completely supported already by those 3 products. So these 3 products right here that I'd already marked to help me be more adaptable, that I talked about in the last masterclass, they also help many of my systems. All right. So we're going to look closer at the cardiovascular system. And how we do that is we mark right here. But you see this little 2? Might be able to see it, maybe not, but it's a 2. It's telling me that there's 2 out of those 3 products that I chose that is actually supporting my cardiovascular system. And when I click on that triangle, it brings it down. And it gives me all of these products that are going to help support my cardiovascular system. But 2 that I already chose, you can see already marked, it automatically marks it over into this next system. Okay. And I can see that I brought it all the way into the blue. So my whole cup is full using those 2 products. So if I want to support my cardiovascular system, I know that Remagen and Joy are 2 products that can help do that. All right. Now, what I also noticed is that they both support my detoxification system. And Remagen also supports my gut, and Joy helps support my immune system. So all I did was see this one. I was able to click it and see. Now we can see 3 systems that still are needing some support. And one of them is my respiratory system, the area that needs the most support. Those 3 products aren't supporting enough. All right. And what I want to do now is I want to look to see what that can look like. So those are the 3 systems that need more support. So what I can do is I can click on products and I can go to my respiratory system. Okay. And now I have a whole new list of products to look at to see what I might need to help support that part of me. Now, a couple of days after this November 1st, I was kind of feeling a little, not so great. And so I'm able to go to this, and I want to tell you what these numbers mean. Okay. So the numbers in the squares on the left are just saying how much your body loves that product. So 100 would be like your body's going, whoo, 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 right? And if it's a 0, your body's like, not really for me. Okay. But it's for your whole body, spiritual, emotional, physical body. Okay. Not just a specific system. So the highest number was a 60 for the thieves roll on and a 60 for myrrh. My body, my whole body, all of me says those are to the highest. But you'll see a smaller number to the right. See these smaller numbers? They're talking about what my body resonates the most for my respiratory system. Okay. So if I'm looking for the number that's the highest for my respiratory system, I see that thieves is the highest. Okay. So here's the thing. If I wasn't using those other 3 products and I just went over here to this, that is the product I would want to choose. But I already chose 3 products, and I'm going to show you that more is not always better. Okay. So I clicked the thieves roll on, but my 100 went down to a 99. Why would that happen? Well, because there's things in thieves that maybe my body's already getting in those other products. And you can see my respiratory system still isn't full. So I like to play with it. I like to see what can I want to get the best out of it all, right? I want to use those 3 products because I already found that they are going to help so many other systems. But I also want to see what's going to help my respiratory system. And what I found is if I used Emu Power or frankincense, I still stayed at 100, but if I put the 2 together, it totally supported my respiratory system. So guess what I used a couple of days after I did the scan? I got out my Emu Power, put it on the bottom of my feet, and I got out my frankincense and I put it on my chest. Okay. Now I'm able to know what specifically I want to use to support my respiratory system. Y'all, what I taught on Monday, balancing, supporting, you can just look at that. You don't even have to go to page 2. But if you want to know specifically how you can support specific systems, you can do this. And y'all, what's going on in your body on that day may not show up, I'm going to say symptoms or sign wise for 3 days, 5 days, a week or 2. Lots can be going on in your body. This is a picture of that moment of what's going on. These are the products that are going to be the best supportive for you. So when people ask, how often do I need to do a scan? Every 30 to 45 days. You don't need to do it every time you're not feeling well or every time you're feeling great. I know a lot of people are like, well, I want to do it on a day that I feel really good. This isn't a test. We're not trying to get to a hunt. We're trying to see how we can best support our bodies. I personally want to know when I'm at my lowest, how I can support my body so I can be at my highest. Okay. If I'm already at my highest, I'm going to get things like highest potential on there, which is great, but I want to know how to support my body when I'm low. Okay. So this is another way we can do it. This next picture here, let's say a couple of days later that my legs are bothering me and I want to see how I can best support my musculoskeletal system. Well, if I wasn't taking anything else and I was just looking for this, I might choose the BLM capsules because they're the highest. But because I'm using 3 other products every day for the month of November, that's just how I do it. I'm using my Dorado Azul. I'm doing my Remagen. If anybody saw my Facebook post and they're like, what product are you talking about, Shauna? Because I tend to be really, really hot. I tend to be always wearing a tank top. I started Remagen on Monday and y'all, like, I haven't been sweating. I'm just saying that's the only thing that changed because my products came in and I didn't have Remagen before. And I've already been using the Dorado Azul and I'd already been using the Joy. I don't know. I'll let you know at the middle of December in 30 days if it's still going. But even as cold as it's been, y'all, Saturday when it got cold, my husband's like, we need to turn the heater on. I'm like, do we have to? Can't we just keep it freezing in here? I'm just saying, okay? But let's say musculoskeletal system comes up. And I want to know how I can best support because my legs are bothering me. You know, it's one of those days. And what I found after clicking these, Roman chamomile filled my energy bucket and it kept me at 100. Okay. Does that make sense? And I could do that with any of these areas. I'm just showing you a few. You can do a few too. So here is a pictures of what I do on a monthly basis for myself. And many of y'all, I've done a one-on-one session with you and have done this for you, but I want to show you how you can do it for yourself. All right. So on Monday's class, I showed you how to do part 1. That's all you need. You could just stop there if you want. But if you want to know more, and sometimes more is better and sometimes it's not, but if you want to know more about what is actually stressing your body out and what systems are actually stressed, that's what this part 2 is. Okay. And then I can take this information. So what I did is up on the top, you can see that I added respiratory so that I'd have it on there. So if my respiratory system's not doing very well, I don't have to go to my scan. I can go to my paper and I can go, oh, yes, get the Emu Power on the bottom of your feet, put frankincense on your chest. My daughter's not feeling so well. Guess what I did today, y'all? I gave her a raindrop and I'm taking care of her, but I need to stay well too. Immupower went on the bottom of my feet. Frankincense went on my chest. Okay. That's for me to support myself. And then I could do the same down below. Lifestyle areas, I could look at those areas and I could decide, is there something that can best help me for environmental toxins? Y'all, to be honest, I already found which ones are going to help me with that. The Dorado Azul, the Remagen. Okay. But if there was something else, I could look at that. Okay. I have my top stressors on the bottom to remind me, Shauna, you're sensitive to some foods. Maybe not the best thing to put into your body. Okay. Shauna, grief. Maybe that's an emotion that you need to work on. Releasing, not holding on to. Okay. And having that there for me helps me know how I can best support my body. One of the things I've been teaching in the 21-day journey from trauma to safety is first we have to feel safe and then we have to support our bodies. And for me, the Zyto Insight Scan has helped me best figure out what parts of my body, because I got a lot of parts, need the most support and how I can best do that. All right. Now, I know that this is a lot of information, and so I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all might have tonight. And then again, Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, I'll be here. If you have questions, we can pull up. Tonight, we're not going to pull up Zyto scans and stuff, but if you have a Zyto scan, I can pull it up and we can look at it. You can have your papers out. We can talk about it, answer questions, talk about the food scan, bring your questions if you have any between now and Monday that you don't ask tonight.